My name is Johan, and we will also have Nich joining us here to do the online base design tool, which is our online tool that builds in all the engineering and all the mounting systems and all the racking systems that we're going to be talking about today. So I appreciate everyone joining. I know over the past years, there's been a lot of webinars and online training, and people probably a little zoomed out, but we have picked up our webinar series and we're doing it once again based on product type, roof type, and today's focus is tile roof mounting. So we'll go over some tile products and some tile roofing basics. We will go over our tile hook systems, our EverSeal products, which is a new addition to our tile hooks, and a new product that is our tile replacement flashings, the EverSeal TRFs. And then I'll briefly discuss just our crossrail system in general, but then we will move into the online design tool called Base. So again, my name is Johan Alfson. I'm the Director of Training for K2 Systems, and Nich is he just moved to a new title, which is exciting. He was our Western Regional Sales Manager, managing Northern California and a lot of the West, and now we actually been growing quite a bit. We've hired a bunch of new outside sales reps to help with that. And Nich has been focusing on product development. So he's a product owner for our product development team, which is very exciting because he knows what the sales demands are as far as installers, what they need. He's been on the roofs, he's done many installs, but also understands the cost competitiveness out there as well. So we're building all kinds of new products, and we have some exciting things to show. So without much more, we can just hop into some introductions real quick. So some of you might see that our name is K2, but we were very well known in the US and in Mexico as Everest. So I just wanted to explain that lineage. We're an international company. We've actually always been K2. So K2 was founded in Germany in 2004 and started growing into the other branches all over Europe, opening up in Italy and France, in the UK, and then eventually in the United States and in Mexico. And we didn't have the rights to the name K2 in the US in the solar industry at that time in 2012, but we did just about almost 2 years ago now have the right to that name and did get the rights to that name. So now we are all one big happy family called K2. So I just wanted to clear that up. So there's a lot of acquisitions going on in the industry, but we are not a part of that. We've always been K2. So now there's less confusion between the international company. But we do operate as our own entity in the US and Mexico. US and Mexico is kind of together. We have a lot of crossover, which is fantastic. So we're based in Oceanside, California, in the northern part of San Diego County. And our Mexico branch is in Guadalajara. So since then, we've grown quite a bit. We've had a number of different offices open up all over Europe, and just recently, about a year ago, in Australia. So it's very exciting. What that does is allows us to have some very deep resources as far as experience all over the world, different kind of mounting solutions. So I think the US market tends to get pretty stuck in old ways. So it's very exciting when we can lend from each other and borrow from each other. Engineers meet together internationally just to discuss some of the challenges, problems, and solutions that we've created with product development. And we've definitely borrowed from each other, which actually lends into our tile mounting systems that we're going to start talking about. So it's pretty exciting. We have installs all over the world. We have offices all over the world, and we are developing new products every quarter. So getting into the roof types, this webinar is solely focused on the tile roofing side. So I just wanted to show, obviously, if you're new to this or maybe you're seasoned, You may know that the most common residential roof types are composition asphalt shingle being probably number one. A close second, if not number one, depending on what markets you're in, is tile. And there's all kinds of different tile roofing systems, and we'll talk about those. And then obviously there's metal roofs as well. So these are the top three most popular roofing systems for residential solar installations. And we have mounting systems for all those different types of roofs. We have composition mounting systems. Our new splice foot is a non-metal flashing, but we also have metal flashing systems as well for comp shingle. We have all sorts of different tile hooks that I'll be getting into one by one today. And then we do have some metal roof mounting systems as well. If you're not aware, we have our standing seam power clamp, and then we have a rail-free system that's called the mini rail for trapezoidal metal roofs. So if you're interested in any of those, you can check our website. If you go under products and go down to roof attachments, there's a whole big list of roof attachments, and you can click into each product page, and there's all kinds of videos and documentation to explain all this. Another exciting thing that we're doing right now as it pertains to this training is our new K2 Pro certification. So it's basically a partnership that we have with customers. We found that we have been doing a lot of training for roof crews based on our products and best practices. And so it not only gets into roof mounting systems, but it also gets into roofing itself. I have a big background in roofing and mounting for over 15 years. And I've been working with different types of roofing systems, and I work with all of our engineers to make sure they understand the roofing systems. And we've realized that that information is extremely important to installers as you're either doing a site visit or you're doing some kind of oddball installation on a roof that maybe you're not familiar with. So we're starting to do education based on roof types that are common, common terminology of roofs, what kind of roofs, what things you might run into, site visits, qualifying the roof, which we'll talk about a little bit today. So we are building our tile section right now. And some of the information that I'm giving you today and presenting on is based out of that program. And there is going to be a deeper dive into this information. But I just wanted to make you guys aware, if you're interested in crew training and getting your team trained, if you're building a team or you have a team or your team's growing, this becomes very valuable, especially as you're hiring new guys and they want to all speak the same language. So again, we're going to focus on tile roofs, and these are the most popular tile roofs out there. This kind of covers the whole gambit here as far as different tile systems. And I would say concrete tiles are the more popular tile roof system out there, but you get all kinds of different tile style roofing out there, more traditional ones like you see below there, the clay, Spanish or cap and barrel tiles. I've even seen some porcelain or old outdated asbestos type stuff that you see out there still. So there's all kinds of different tile roofs in the US, but I would say the roofing industry has standardized for the most part on these interlocking concrete tiles. So the old clay Spanish barrel tile will still be out there. They do look great. They have kind of an old, authentic, vintage look that are still being installed in different parts of Southern California, maybe even Arizona as well. I'll get into these one by one, and then different styles, regional based. But the concrete tiles are the most popular. You're seeing construction's up these days. You're seeing a lot of big home developments happening and getting built out. And most of those, if they're tile, are going to be one of these top three up at the top, which is flat tile, S tile, or W tile. So it's important to understand the terminology with this, because some people just generically say, oh, it's barrel tile or it's Spanish tile. But I think the industry has grown up quite a bit now as far as the solar industry, where we're all starting to speak the same language and identify these by what it is. Because Spanish or barrel tile doesn't really describe what it can be. That one in the middle there, which is a concrete S tile. Sometimes I've heard folks call that barrel tile, but it is in fact a concrete S tile. And the reason why these play different importance in describing them is because the W-shaped tile kind of looks similar, but you can tell it's a lower profile. And I have some examples behind me. I have some tiles here that I brought up, and I'll explain these one by one as we get into the installation part of this. So flat concrete tiles differ in their thickness and their width, but they're generally the same, and they all install with these interlocking sides. But so just so you know, the concrete tiles are what most manufacturers have standardized, and there's different, manufacturers like Eagle, Boral, there used to be Monier. There's a lot of acquisitions going on. I think Westlake just bought Boral, which is a big name brand. So a lot of times you can flip the tiles over and see the brand name imprinted right into the concrete, and you can figure out what it is and who makes it, and getting replacements and things like that. But I'll get into that a little bit more as we get into the kind of anatomy of a tile roof. So this is really important to understand, because you might run into roofs that are a little bit older, and they may create some problems or some challenges or some different mounting styles that you need to be aware of. So this is a great example of some different style roofs. If you look to the left, the way they're built up. So right now it's pretty standardized, where you've got your truss system, your rafters, then you have plywood or decking, and then you have some sort of underlayment, typically a 30-pound felt paper, or sometimes an synthetic underlayment. You can see that. You can tell when it's synthetic when they have print on it and it says some type of manufacturer, maybe like a GAF or a CertainTeed or any other kind of, or Grace. Sometimes it's a Grace Ice and Water Shield adhesive. For different kinds of climates like Florida, they'll sometimes require an adhered underlayment. But most generically across the US, for the most part, I would say the dominant underlayment is just a traditional old school 30-pound felt paper that you could see there in the black. And then the battens laying across are not in every region. I'm in Northern California. So is Nich. And here, most of these tile roofs are batten style, where they have these little one-bys going across the roof. And the idea there is that you're hooking in the tiles onto the batten and then hooking on the interlocks on the sides, and you're not nailing in every single tile. So there's an example up at the top left corner there. Excuse me. The top left corner there is a batten style, and you can see all the tiles are hooked in, each one. And then in the middle section there, you've got what we've just generically called direct attach, where every tile is nailed in and there is no batten. So roofers have different preferences. Some argue for one another that one is faster than the other. Some might create more, less drainage or more drainage. It really just depends on the style. None of them are wrong. But I will say that it's important, because it could change the height of, clearance. If you have a tile hook going over a batten, it might have some elevation on it. It might not. It might create some damming of debris, maybe some water collection, which are things you want to check on your site visit. And I'll talk about that in the next couple slides here when we talk about qualifying the roof. But the bottom left one is a good example of what was kind of that predates some of these code changes. So that picture in the bottom left there is actually a picture from inside the attic, looking out, and you can see it skip sheathing and then tiles right on top. That's actually a picture in the US that somebody sent me. And in Europe, you still see that style tile roofing, but it is not a common practice in the US anymore. So in the early 80s, they used to allow this, but they changed the codes in about, I think, 1982 or 83, around there. They changed the codes to have to mandate solid decking, solid sheathing, and then some type of underlayment, as we mentioned, and then the tiles. And the reason being is because when you have skip sheathing, the tiles prove to not be so waterproof, and water and debris would eventually work its way in, and it became a little bit of a problem for water intrusion. So they changed the requirements for having solid sheathing, underlayment, and then the tiles. So the construction is important, because if you get up there and you bidded the job for a standard tile job, and then you get up there and you see that there is no decking, you're going to have to you're going to encounter a little bit more labor. Or maybe there's an upgrade where you have plywood and then you have skip sheeting underneath, and you might be hitting those skip sheeting boards instead of the rafters, and it might trick you into thinking you're hitting the structure of that. So it's just good to know what you're getting yourself into. A lot of installers don't like getting in the attic, but that is the best way to tell of what's going on, or making sure you're making positive connections to the rafters. So I put a couple pictures in here just to show, some of the construction. You could see the layers there: plywood, underlayment, battens, then the tiles. And then on the front face, a lot of times you have what's called like a bird stop, where they have venting coming out, but they don't allow for critters and birds to nest, which can be a pretty big problem. And then you'll have like drip edge metal flashings at the edge there. Sometimes you have gutters. So all the construction's a little bit different, but the majority of the root of the building of the system is pretty standard as far as new construction requirements. So, and then it breaks out into regions that have different practices. So here's some good examples of Southern California, where, as I mentioned, they do direct attach for the most part. So San Diego, LA, all parts of Southern California, Orange County, you see a lot of the direct attach where they put in each tile and then they nail them all in. And in San Diego, I've seen a little mix, actually, sometimes in the same neighborhood. So that's why it's good to double check these things and be aware of them. And then you could see there on the middle picture is more Northern California style, where they have battens. In that case, you could see that they have what's called raised battens. And they have these little kind of discs that where they nail through, and they're almost like little mini standoffs that raise the battens so that you have drainage and airflow going underneath the battens and not trapping in debris and moisture and things like that. So that's kind of a newer style of battens, but you do see that in most of Northern California, I would say Arizona, the Southwest, and parts of San Diego as well, but definitely in Northern California, where I'm from, that's where they do it. And it makes it a lot easier to remove a tile, because you don't have to pull a nail out. You just prop up two tiles that are locking it in, and then you can pull it out pretty easily. And then in Florida, they have a lot of adhered tiles. So this makes things a lot more difficult for removing a tile, because you can't. Because in some of these higher wind areas, like where you have like Dade County regulations, where they will glue down every single tile instead of nailing it. So they're either mortared in or foamed in. You can see there they're spraying down an adhesive foam, and then his partner up above is laying down the tile and locking it in so that it can withstand those really high wind speeds. So I have some tiles here behind me, and these are concrete tiles, and I wanted to show this because it does show the profile of these. You can see this is the W tile, and you can see here they have these nail holes. There's 3 of them, but typically they only use one of them. I'd be very surprised if they used all 3. Typically they use the center one. There's 3 of them because sometimes you're cutting tiles into a valley, and you have different options that you could secure them, but usually they only do 1, if any at all, depending on where they are. And then on the back, you have what's called a lug. So there's a lug on the top that hooks onto the batten there, And then these lugs on the bottom there are what allow them to nestle into each other and kind of close the gap. So there's the lug there. So sometimes they grind those down to have a tile hook come out, and I'll show some pictures of that later, or they replace it completely. The colors definitely vary. So that's one of the biggest challenges when you're going to a boneyard and trying to match tiles. This one is a W tile. It's kind of had that gray look. And then again, the interlocks. So this is kind of what identifies these tiles. Sometimes they'll call these a cap and pan. This is a little interlock on the sides, and you can see the one open here, which is a pan, so to say. So the next tile over will grab this and interlock onto the sides, and then this one will cap over on the next one. So they're interlocking tiles, which all of them have that interlocking feature, flat, W and S. The S tile you can see is much bigger, much heavier, and it does still have a lug there. It's a lot easier to grind that away and have a tile hook come out if that's what you want to do. But they have that S shape. They still have that cap and pan interlock. They're a lot heavier. They obviously still have the nails in there. And I don't know if you could see this, but both of these are different manufacturers. This is Monier. You could see it imprinted in there. Whereas this one here is actually a lot lighter. You could see very faintly eagle there. So this helps you when you're trying to identify the tiles if you need to replace them. So if you're going to replace, I mean, when you get onto a job site, you're going to run into broken tiles. So this does help quite a bit on trying to match tiles and replace them. And we'll get into replacement flashings as we mentioned. We just released a few. The Tile Roofing Institute, you can go to tileroofing.org. They create manuals that are based on different regions, and they have manuals for proper installation of tile roofs. The Tile Roofing Institute also has classes to teach roofers the best practices for tile roofing. I've gone through some of their classes, and they're pretty packed full of information. And this is what roof manufacturers will typically follow for best practices for their system. So I pulled out a page there that talks about tile penetration flashing. There's a lot of argument going on in the solar industry whether solar roof attachments are attachments, quote unquote, or penetrations. And it's been debated because the definition of an attachment has different requirements as far as waterproof flashing, whereas penetrations have more strict guidelines for waterproofing to best practices and code compliance. So that's an ongoing debate that's happened, but most installers are trying to mimic what they're doing for a vent pipe. So in the Tile Roofing Institute manual, they do recommend double flashing, meaning you have to flash the underlayment of a tile underneath as well as the top tile if you're penetrating through the tile. So this is not regulated in all jurisdictions. It's usually regionally based, and it's only city by city, jurisdiction by jurisdiction. So every installer knows when they are required to do double flashing. Some installers do it across the board because they want to sell that quality to the homeowner, saying that they're doing double flashing. But most installers take the least path of resistance and install mounts, put sealant over the bolts, and then cover the tile and put a flashing over it on the top. Some will argue that underneath the tile is not going to get as much water directly onto the penetration, and the sealant is enough. So it's an ongoing debate, and I'll talk about that as we get into some of these systems or these products that we've released. So a couple things I've been doing in that K2 Pro training program is talking about qualifying the roof. So this is extremely important on tile. And I always compare this to like walking around a rental car, right? You don't want to inherit roof leaks. So talk to the homeowner in the HJ and get as much information on that roof and do your research and your investigation. determining the age, when was it built, who installed it, is there a manufacturer warranty or a roofer's warranty in place at all? Are there extra tiles? Sometimes you'll find tiles just tucked away on the side of the house. And you obviously want to take some pictures. So some of the telling points of a tile roof that shows kind of the health of a tile roof is obviously looking at tiles, and if they're cracked and corroded, that helps a lot. But the valley of a tile roof is very, very telling. And there's different ways tile roofers do valleys. They have what's called closed cut valleys, where you could see in the far right picture there, and the tiles are cut real close up together, and some thinks it looks nicer, it's cleaner, but some do open cut valleys where they have an exposed flashing, and some will argue that this allows for debris to collect and then eventually wash out. So when you pull tiles out of a valley, on a closed cut valley, sometimes like that picture in the middle to the left there, you could see where debris and moisture collected over time and can create some problems and degrade the underlayment a little bit faster. So excuse me. So you want to definitely check the condition of the underlayment, the plywood, the truss system. Make sure you're not inheriting roof leaks before you step foot on the roof and before you install on it. So going back to this, stepping on the roof, obviously there's some weak points in the middle of the tile, and you want to step kind of more on that overlap. There's about a 3-inch overlap where the tile is supported by the next tile. So we talk a lot about this in our new training program, but I just wanted to give you kind of some of the key points to take home today to understand and look for. So tile hook installation styles. This is, I mentioned grinding the tile. It's a little bit more old school, but this is a good look, and you don't have to look for new tiles or buy replacement tile flashings, but it has its pros and cons. So some installers I've seen just install tile hooks and then just put the tiles right on top of it and leave it propped up, and they allow for water intrusion and debris, and that's incorrect. So you want to grind the back of that lug. As I mentioned before, it's a little easier on like the S tile. On the S tile, it's much easier because you have this big giant lug here, and some guys can just hit that with a hammer and break it off without damaging the tile, or just grind away just a small space for the tile hook to come out and install. But if you don't want to do that, or the tiles are a little fragile, the new way of doing these things is using tile replacement flashings like you see on the right there. And then you can actually have a bunch of spare tiles to replace any that broke on the roof as you're walking around it, which does happen. So getting into our tile hooks real quick. Our K2 product series, we have a bunch of different tile hooks. So as I mentioned, we pull from our international colleagues at K2, and they had some really strong, robust tile hooks in Germany. And tile hooks are used almost exclusively in Europe. And they had the 3S hook, which is an adjustable tile hook, and it has a return on it, so you can use the L foot. So it's definitely more robust, more expensive, but it has so many different features and adjustments. And some installers really like that flexibility to adjust. In the actual hook arm has 3 levels of adjustability for height, and in the L foot above you have a lot of adjustability, and you can swivel it around as well. So that was one of our first products that we brought over. The flat tile hook is another very stout hook. I actually have some samples here. We have a couple different style hooks. This is our flat tile hook. You can see it's a little shorter. It's a little thicker. It has a kind of a raised section here, so it takes more flex onto it. So some folks who use tile hooks, or maybe looking at tile hooks, don't like the deflection because you have your anchor here and your load here, and you have that deflection. But this one is built a little bit more stout, and works really well in those areas that might get snow, because we're starting to see Colorado come online with more tile roofs. A lot of times it's flat tile. So that flat tile hook is the more strong flat tile hook Whereas, and here's just some highlighted points of the 3S. The 3S is that adjustable one I mentioned. And then this is our standard flat tile hook. And keep in mind, some of these some of the newer hooks come with the lag screws, the sealing washers, and the T-bolt to attach our crossrail system. So to compare these, I have two different flat tile hooks here. We did come out with a new series of hooks that are a little bit more for Southern California and Arizona, where you don't have much snow. This is a good example showing side by side the flat tile hook X, the thinner one, longer one, and the original flat tile hook that I mentioned earlier. So the reason why we did this is because there's different size tiles, and this gives you a lot of different options. So these are steel hooks. This flat tile hook has a longer reach, a little bit of a taller stance on it as well. You could see them side by side here. This will give you a good option for where you are. If you're based in Colorado, you're going to want the standard flat tile hook. If you're in Arizona or Southern California, this flat tile hook X is the more common one. And again, these come with the lag screws and the T-bolt set. The universal standard hook is a adjustable, or sorry, it's a one part. So we try to name the products what they actually are. So universal standard 9-inch base. So it's a 9-inch base here that allows you to install to the rafters and come out to the valley. It's all one piece solid. This is universal, very popular in Southern California. And then we have the adjustable 5.5 base hook, where you can actually detach the arm and move it to where you need to. So this is probably the most popular in Southern California. And then we have the 9-inch base. That's probably the number 2 product in Southern California and Arizona. All of these, actually, this is pretty exciting. All of these have actually been approved and tested to have butyl pre-installed on them. So you might have seen our splice foot product release, where we have actually have one right here. Our splice foot is the non-metal flashing product, to where you can peel this back and stick this on top of the shingles and then have a self-sealing product. So the butyl has actually performed so well that we've been looking at using it as waterproofing at the underlayment level and pre-installing these on the tile hooks. So, excuse me, going back to what we talked about with the old method. So if you're going and you're trying to do the 3 coursing, or sorry, you're trying to do the underlayment flashing underneath, a lot of practices are using either 3 coursing or lapping it under the paper. So 3 coursing is a common way of doing underlayment flashing, where they just put down a big metal flashing and they use roofing tar to tar it all in and do what's called three coursing. The reason it's called 3 coursing is because you put a layer of tar, you put a layer of mesh, and then another layer of tar, which is 3 layers to make it bond and sort of cement in. So that's what roofers would do. As a retrofit, it's very messy, it's very time consuming, and you have to bring big buckets of tar up there. Some installers have it down to a science and an art, and they do it. And like I mentioned before, some just rely on sealant and just putting in sealant all around the hooks, which you can see at the bottom middle picture there in black and white. So we've been introducing the EverSeal technology, which is our butyl asphalt compatible seal pad. And it's self-sealing, meaning that it seals itself once you install it, and you don't have to use any sealant at all. So this is much cleaner, much faster, and it's all pre-built in there. And we have done the tests, and we have done all kinds of wind-driven rain tests, accelerated heat tests, as well as submersion tests, meaning we submerge it underwater for an extended period of time. And we have done all those tests, and it has been approved. And we are moving forward with this as an option for all of our standard hooks. So you'll see the 9-inch, 5.5-inch, and the flat tile hook X having these all pre-installed on the back of the hook. So if you're interested in that, you could check our website. That's a new product that we just released, and you'll start seeing that hitting shelves pretty soon. So all of that, I mentioned all of that, although those products do come with, except for the 3S hook, because that's the original product, but all the other tile hooks come with the T-bolt set. And this is actually a big one because some installers are using different mounts, or sorry, using our hooks, maybe a different rail. So our T-bolt is included with this, and it goes right through that slot set. So you could turn that. I know that might seem trivial, but there's other racking systems that have different size T-bolts and they don't fit inside there. Ours does fit. It allows you to put it in very easily, and it works with our cross-rail system. And we have the 44X as our most popular, and then there's the 48X, 48XL, and 80, which is more for our ground mount system. So these are all compatible with our tile hook series if you're interested in trying this out. The last product I wanted to mention real quick before we hand it over to Nick is our new replacement tile flashings. So as I mentioned, the tile manufacturers have standardized on these concrete tiles, and the shapes of these tiles are pretty standard across the board, which gives us a huge advantage to creating replacement tile flashings that allow you to completely remove the tile, because grinding down the tiles for the hook pass through, it tends to be a little bit messy. There's some OSHA safety requirements where you have to wear a mask, you have to have a cutting station, a dust collection system. It just became a lot more cumbersome. So we designed these flashings to replace the tile, and different manufacturers have different attributes, but Nick and I have been very involved in the development of these, and there's some really slick features into these that make it stand above the competition that I want to explain here. So one of the big complaints that we've seen, Nick and I actually were on a job out in Northern California, and we took some pictures, and it was our rail with a different hook and flashing that before we had our product. And I mentioned that little interlocking channel on the sides. So what the big complaint is in the field is with these other systems is the flashings that they have are interlocking on one side and capping over on the other side. And what that does is it locks it into the tile. And then when you get a wavy roof, this tends to pop in the very bottom corner, and you can see that's what's happening in that picture. You can see that's exactly what's happening in this picture, where the flashing is curling up, and you have to cut, manipulate, and stick it under there, and it just creates more work. And if you just leave it, it rattles and it flops along the tile, and it's not pretty. So we have built in a lot of key features into this. One thing we did with all the flashings is we eliminated hooking it in, and we made it wider, so it just caps over on both sides. And it also has these securement tabs, which are very slick in the sense that you can just now, instead of propping up this tile and propping up the top tile, which you have to do to release the tile to get it out and get in your flashing, this one you can now just prop up this top layer of tiles, just pull one up, slip this in, almost like a comp shingle flashing. And then now these securement tabs will lock in to secure into the tile itself and secure it down, and it's malleable, so you can kind of contort this and bend it to secure to the tile itself. And then this is a tab for the tile hook. So instead of mangling the tile with tin snips, you can push this back, and now you have a pass through for the tile hook to go through. So this is the S tile, which marries onto that. And then you have the W tile, which has the same features, interlocking tabs, and then the pass through for the hooks, because they're always going to be in the valley here. That's the W tile. The only one that doesn't have the tabs is the flat tile, because your hook could end up anywhere in this section. So if you just cut 2 lines in that and push it back, and then you can push this and mold it to the way you want it. And then it still has the securement tabs. And all of them have kind of water features that drain out to the sides, so it avoids it collecting onto your tile hook entry. So a pretty thoughtful product. And we're very proud of this. If you want more information, you can go to our product page under roof attachments and click on there. There's a video that shows the installation that talks about all those features that I just mentioned and shows it being installed and how they work. So that's pretty much it from my side. I just wanted to mention that we do have a pretty extensive training program that's been developed lately. And we do, if you're working with K2 products, please reach out to your local sales rep. We have a huge team now. I actually had a slide that shows all the outside sales rep, but I couldn't keep up because we have so many new guys. But if you go on our website, you go to contact and you click on find your sales rep, it will give a detailed list of everyone in your region. I would reach out to them because I know installers' biggest challenge is keeping crew members and keeping them all quality, keeping the quality of the installation up, and, products are changing all the time. So if you're using K2 systems, we have a big training team now. We have somebody in the East, we have myself in the West, and all of our outside sales team are pretty technical, and we're hiring more trainers so that we can be either on site. That picture below is a little cross-rail challenge that we do where we challenge installers to install our tilt-up system, which kind of shows all the examples of all of our components and all the different features of the product. And there's like prizes at the end, and it's a great team bonding experience for the guys. And then also quality assurance. And we do a whole, overview of the system, what went wrong, what went right, and showing them best practices and faster ways to do installs. And we go to job sites as well. And we do a lot of these webinars custom too. So if you're interested in more training, you could reach out to myself. I have my contact info at the end here, but I'll hand it over to Nich. And Nich, I don't know if you want to add a couple things. I know you've been involved in a lot of these products as well.
We have. Johan and I have been working closely together with the product development team, and wanted to let everybody know on the webinar today that I'm actually going to be more involved with product development as well. And we're taking a lot of voice of customer, a lot of the hurdles that installers, you installers out there or designers out there run into with selecting product, choosing product, which products have the features that you want, what hurdles are you running into in the field? Are there too many to choose from? Are there not enough? We're taking all of that information in, and we're categorizing it, sorting it, prioritizing it, and making sure that K2 is building the products that you want to install on your projects. But that even goes into our software as well. We want to make sure that we have the most adaptable and user-friendly products that you want to use on your projects, that you can trust that we've put the devotion and engineering into to deliver you a product that is superior for your install. And thank you, Johan, for going over all of the experience you have in tile. I have experience in tile as myself, but let's dive into the portion here where we're going to drive over our design tool base. I'm going to take the screen here.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Thanks everybody for sticking around here. Let's go ahead and jump on over to our designer tool, which is in configurator, which is base. Let me minimize some of this stuff out of the way here. So move that out of the way. Move that out of the way. So right now you'll be seeing, you should be seeing my screen. I think can everybody see my screen? We're on the landing page of k2systems.com. Make sure that when you are browsing the internet for our site, look for this K2 Systems /English or EN USA. That's the site that you want to be on. We are an international racking company, so we do have a European site. We have a site that's from Mexico as well. So make sure that you're navigating the site. If you're here in North America, use the US site. Very simple and easy to navigate website that we've constantly improved on. If you want to get to any of our products, just hover over products. It'll give you a drop down of different systems like Crossrail. If you want to go right to roof attachments, Or if you even click on any of the banner ads that are scrolling across, it'll take you directly to what those products are that you're looking at. In your navigating of the site to get to our design tool, there's two ways to go about it. You can either go to base up here on the top, which is K2 base, or if you want to go to service, base online design tool. There's a landing page here. If you go to base online design tool, gives you a little background on the tool itself and some tips and tricks, where to get started, helpful videos on the system, just kind of a landing page for all of the overview of the system. And you can watch videos here that give you a little bit of background on some of the plugins that we have for base. We actually have a lot of tools that are built into the tool. For instance, we'll go over some of them today, like our inverter designer, which is K2 Plus. We have the tool is linked to the back end of Green Lancer. So if your installation crew, if your team is using Green Lancer to get permits qualified, you can push your projects that you design in base over to Green Lancer. I already have a login for base, and there's fantastic video from Gal Roder, who is our developer at base, who's constantly updating our tool based upon all of your feedback and the features that you want to have. So I already have a login for base, but if you want to start, you just click start base and it'll take you right in there. So I wanted to go over how to get in. So go ahead and click on K2 base. It'll take you right to the tool. You should see a tab open up on your browser and it'll take you to the main screen on base. Give me a second here for it to catch up to what I'm doing here. Oops, I already have a session open. Let me move that one on over. Close that out. So main splash page for base is right here. You'll notice here that we have two ways of navigating the site. You have a mini menu on the left-hand side, and then you have your larger dashboard menu up here in the front. It already recognized me as my login right here because it's assigned to my Chrome profile. And a couple other things that you'll notice here with the dashboard is that we have the ability to look at it in list view for some of the projects that you have, or you can look at it in grid view. So we have a small button on the side for a new project, open existing projects. Some of the updates we've made are you can actually auto save, so you don't have to constantly click save. We also have an undo redo, which is now working on our site as well. So you can just click the back button if you want to undo something. If you made a scribble on the tool, or you didn't want to assign this module to that roof section, you just hit the undo button, takes you right back to where you were. Very simple. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my system's set up for auto save. There it goes. You'll notice that by the icon that has the reciprocal circuit. We also have the ability to download projects. This is extremely helpful because your team or other users, or when you're engaging with K2, you can send us the exact project that you're working on. So if there's something that you need some support or critiquing with, you can actually download your project. It'll save where you are and what stage you're at, share it with anybody who's on the K2 team, and then we're able to pick up right where you left off. We can easily put together a 15-minute video meeting or even longer. If you need support with the tool, you can say, hey, I'm lost. I'd like to figure out this. So we can critique that and support that very quickly for you. With and encompassing the aspect of support, you have the ability to go through the chat feature here and actually chat right with our team via WhatsApp or via Apple Message. Dakota just told me I'm running a little low on time, so we got to get started. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to hit the big new project button. And where that's going to go, it's going to take me to the main interface of the tool. So you'll notice that dashboard is right here, and we'll be able to run through every section here in the next 5 minutes. It's a very, very intuitive tool. So our tool is a Google Map based tool because all projects actually have an address. They're going to be installed somewhere on planet Earth. So having the address for your project is definitely key. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a house in Northern California, the Bay Area, out in the valley, which is more along the lines in suburbia, but it is a tile roof. So specifically focused on exactly what Johan was talking about today. This looks like a great candidate for solar. Got kind of a tilted southwest roof. It's definitely got to have an expensive PG&E bill because they got pool pumping equipment, they got AC, and they've got looks like a pretty tall structure there. So we're going to call this the red tile roof house. That's the first thing you can do, is categorize your project by giving it a name. That's the only thing that's required in this part of project. You can actually toggle through different selections here, like installation date. You can opt in on this. You don't have to put this, but if you want to keep your company really robust and on schedule, let's give it a date of the end of next month. We want to have this installed. Design parameters, design method. Most of the United States has adopted ACSE 716, but you can toggle through older racking engineering requirements, especially Euro codes if you want to. Like we said, we are an international racking company. We're trying to make sure that we keep our equipment on code with all of the design parameters out there. I wanted to also say that there's more information you can put in here, like if you know the customer's name. Let's say this is Nick's house. That's our customer's name. You can put their information here. If you use any tagging in your customer database, like projects for 2020 Q1, you can add that tag right here. All of this information is opt-in. The only required one is a project name. Let's move on. You'll notice that the tool has 6 different steps to go through, and only the one that you're on is illuminated, because the tool is not going to drive you through and let you get lost in the tool. You get all the way to the end with summary with actually no result. So we're going to help you get there by making sure that you tell the tool what you want, or excuse me, the tool is going to tell you what it wants from you. So now the first thing we go to are what are the wind loads and weather conditions of the area. If you type in the address, it'll automatically determine that there's basically no snow load in that area, in this particular part of the Bay Area. So the only thing that you do have to tell this portion of it is that you need to tell it what kind of wind exposure is it. Is this in a vast open terrain, like in a ranch area, or like, you know, through the hills or the valley, or is it in a kind of urban suburban area where the structures are pretty close together? We know that this is in suburbia, where there's structures are pretty close together. You can change your risk category if you want to, but most systems in the North America are designed for a risk category of 2. Based on the historical meteorological information on the zip code, we know that the wind load doesn't usually exceed over 91.9 miles an hour. You can modify that if you want. Just click here on manually, and you can change that to whatever you wish. If you don't want to, just leave it on automatic. Like I said, the tool is going to try and usher you through and help you out on exactly what you want to get done. So right now it's going to let us go all the way over to roof. We only have 3 steps to go through after roof, design, results, and then summary for our BOM. So it's going to ask us, what type of structure are we designing on today? If we're designing on a flat roof, we'll do flat roof. If we know that it's a single slope or a mono slope roof, we'll select that. We happen to understand that this is a gabled style roof, which is basically like an A-frame style. You can even design on hip roof as well. We're going to be designing on this southwest side of the roof, so we're going to select gable. It's going to ask us what type of shape that we'd like. Predominantly for gabled, we notice that most users use rectangle, so that's what it's going to concatenate down to for us for this particular style. And then for roof covering, we're going to select tile. By doing so, by selecting the type of roof covering, since we have multiple different types, it'll actually pluck from the menu, our roof attachment menu, on which roof attachments are allocated over to tile. If we selected comp, it's going to select the roof attachments for comp shingle. So this way, by us classifying the roof attachment, it's going to let us know what roof attachments are the roof covering, what roof attachments are available for tile roof. Make sense? And you can put any information here on roof 1. You can edit this if you want. You can say, hey, this is the southwest side. We're going to hit add, and you'll notice here that my cursor has turned into a crosshair, and this is where we can draw that actual rectangle on that roof. Very simple to do. I start on the left-hand side, I drag it to the right. We have inline dimensions. Even if we know that there's a gap there, if we want to encompass this side of the roof over here, we can just drag it all the way over there. We don't have to, but we can. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just design this mass, the mass of the roof, which is over to the southwest side. We're going to omit this small section over here. So from here, we already know that it's a tiled roof. This is the second section of roof. It's going to let us know the building height. If you have any questions about building height and what it's actually asking us, you can always click on these question marks. It'll ask you, hey, what is the height of the building? If we want the orientation or degree of the roof, we can actually change that if we want to. So if we say, hey, we notice this roof is more along the lines of 20 degrees, we can change that if we want to. So let's say that it's about 24 degrees. There we go. For the rafter spacing, we can also tell it that we have a specific rafter spacing. Most of the rafter spacing you're going to encounter out here is going to be 24" on center. After that, you can change any of these parameters that you want, but you don't have to. We're going to go ahead and click continue for the sake of time here. Oops, excuse me. Last chance to change any information that you know about the property, like if there's some heavy wind zone areas. We know that out here in suburbia it doesn't really have too many, so we're going to click continue, and it's going to take us over to design. It's going to ask us if there's any actual roof obstructions. I'm going to go ahead and click yes, there is, and add, because we know there's two little roof vents right there. Very easy for us to do this. Oops, this is where that undo helps a lot. I clicked too fast there. I apologize, guys. So we're going to go ahead and continue. And then we're going to go to, give me 1 second here, undo. Let's get back to roof. I apologize for that. I clicked a little too fast on that. We're back to the loads of the property. There we go. We already draw. Let me go and draw the roof one more time here. I clicked a little too fast there, guys, so apologize. There's a section of the roof that we already categorized. Terrific. Continue. Any last information about the actual roof itself? Continue. We did have one obstruction up there. We're going to say it's a roof vent. Continue. And here we actually get to our design parameter right here at this stage. This is where you have your vast library of modules here. Sorry about that interruption there. So we are listed with dozens and dozens of modules, and our system mechanically works with dozens and dozens of modules. But if you just want to use UL listed modules only, just go ahead and click on UL 2703. And it'll concatenate down to the modules that are only UL listed. This is constantly being updated. We're going to select Aptos for the sake of time. I'm going to select a 390 watt module. And we're right about the portion where we're going to design on the roof here. Gives us the dimensions, the output of the module. Go ahead and click continue. Here's where we can actually select what type of system we're going to install. We're going to use the Crossrail with tile hooks today. So it'll ask us, do we want to do the complete roof area of this of the outlined area, or would we like to draw a certain area where the modules go? I'm going to click module array so I can draw where I want it to go. And after that, we're doing a flush attach, which is parallel, and portrait. Let's go ahead and click add. And this is one of the simplest parts. You just take it across here and drag the area where you'd like to place modules. You can even zoom in a little tighter here. We are able to get a ton of modules on this actual roof. So this customer is going to be extremely happy. So we have the ability to remove modules too, if we want. So we know there's some obstructions there in the center. I'm going to go ahead and click this erase button, and we're going to remove those two right there because we knew there was two roof vents right there. So we have a nice letter C arrangement on the roof there. I know we're running short on time, but I'll make sure I get to the results tab. Apologize for any interruption there earlier. Right here is where we select the color of the clamps. We're going to use black clamps on the top because we're using black framed modules, and we're able to get to 10.9 kW on this house with 3 rows of 10 minus the 2 on top, so we have 8 on top. We're going to click continue, and this will take us over to the results page. We have a rafter layout, we have a mount layout, and here's where we can actually select some of the roof attachments that Johan was talking about. We have the ability to select some of the newer hooks that are coming with the water barrier underneath. If you want to select the ones without, you can. We're going to select the flat tile hook X. And of course, we want to use tile replacements on this property because they have a lot older tile, and we have to let it, we have to tell it exactly what size tile we wish to use. This was particularly a flat tile house, so we're going to select flat tile. And after that, we're pretty much done. We just need to select any accessories that we want to have. We'd like to have some end caps to keep out some of the debris from building up in the rail or critters making little homes in there. We're definitely using MLPE, whether it's microinverter or a power optimizer or a microinverter. Wire management's a big deal. Let's go ahead and select some of these accessories for that. We're going to use our Omega clip and our TC clip, and then from there, we're able to get right to our BOM. I know I took the longer route there, but I want you guys to know how fast this tool can actually whip up a BOM for you really quick.
Yeah.
Click continue, and you're set to go.
Nick, I wanted to mention, because a question came in that's kind of related. Somebody asked like cost and strength of, I think, the hooks. And so by using this tool, this is, I mean, we have tests where we do pull out and shear tests, but that's on a machine into, you know, the weakest plywood possible, which I think is 7/16 OSB going into a rafter. And we do pull out, we do shear, and it's a mechanical test that does the test. And then those values are put in, obviously with safety factors. Those are put into this design tool based on the strength of our rail, based on the strength of the mounts and our testing. So this allows you to get those results, and it's showing you the different mounting. And when you select the mount, it's going to tell you the spans that you can do there. And it looks like it standardizes on staggering them out, which is nice. So yes, once you have this BOM, you have an engineered system for that region based off of, you know, we've built in ASC 716 as well, as it pertains to interior modules and exterior modules and all those wind factors and new wind zones. But it will also give you a BOM, which you can go to our website and you can go to find a distributor. And we have a list of distributors, which is another question that came in.
Yes.
And I believe Dakota put it in the chat there. There's a list of distributors. And you could talk to your rep, whether it's CED, Wesco, Cranich. We have a number of different distributors out there. And you can talk to your rep, send them the BOM. You can send us the BOM, and we will actually double check that. They're Nich demoing that feature where you can look in California, you can look in whatever state you're in and find all of our list of distributors.
Correct.
So yeah, this is really helpful to get you an engineered system based on your region and give you a BOM so that you can start figuring out what materials you want to get or what you want to have priced out with your distributor. Absolutely. And then warrant, last quick question that came in, warranties, all our products are warranted, 25-year warranty. Racking mounts are full systems. Obviously, you want to install them correctly based on our instructions and our quick guides. And then the last question that came in was tile replacements with posts. I think Frank asked that question. I answered it in the chat, but we're actually doing a lot of product development on that right now. We don't have them on the shelf, but we have them in the testing phase. But all these products that we talked about with tile hooks and tile replacement flashings that we mentioned today are on the shelf and ready to go. And all of our distributors have the ability to order these now, but we do have a lot of product development happening at the moment. So there's a lot of products on the drawing board and in the testing phase.
Absolutely, Johan, absolutely.
Sorry, one more question from Scott. Is there a requirement for deck level flashing below the tile replacement flashing?
For deck attaching, none of our hooks are deck attached. So we are testing and looking at it because everybody wants to do deck attached because finding rafters, especially under a tile roof, can be a little bit more difficult. But as I mentioned before, when you have that load here and your attachment offset here, you have a huge arm level that leverage on there to pull out. So if you've got deck attachment, the pullout's going to be severely weakened. So shifting the load over it and having deck attached is something we're looking at right now, but not for tile hooks. That'd be for more of a standoff approach.
Thank you, Johan. That's absolutely true. Encompassing base and some of the add-ons that we've recently updated to, if your designer team is a little bit more fond of putting your permit packages together with CAD and line drawings of the property and things like that, we have the ability to download everything you drew here, right here. You can export that over to CAD so they can just layer that right on top of the house when they need to. So AutoCAD is still highly adopted across many different types of construction. So whether it's solar, whether it's remodeling homes, whether it's building new homes, digital drawing software is adopted across the industries, across different industries. So you can now export any arrays that you designed over to CAD using our DFX or DWG line drawer formats. So those can come right over. That's new on our tool. The other thing that has been on our tool, which we are one of the only manufacturers that offers this, is we offer API bridges with your inverter designers. So if you're using Fronius, Goodweek, Costal, SMA, and SolarEdge, you can actually plug this exact array and all of the design that you put into it into the SolarEdge tool. And you just, at one click of a button, it actually goes right over to the SolarEdge tool, and you can configure your stringing. You can actually even prep the array or the project to accept monitoring as soon as you're finished installing it. So you can actually scan the optimizers in to the actual project if you want to. This really speeds up the commissioning process, so you don't have to cross across so many platforms, do all of the double work. You can just do it in one spot, and then we can share across those two. Last but not least, the latest update that we've done with plugins for base is, of course, Green Lancer. If you want to take your project, the array that you just designed, and if you have an operating account at Green Lancer, you can take this exact project, share it with Green Lancer, and they'll be able to give you permitting packages based upon what your pricing is with them. So we've had this for just about 6 weeks now, and it's still new, but if you are an adopter of Green Lancer, you can use this today.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Nick. And a lot of our inside sales reps are equipped to demoing this for you guys. So if it's something you want to show your design team and you want to get in touch and do this training specifically on this kind of more one-on-one with your team, you can reach out to us, and some of our technical reps can help with this as well. Or if you want to design it, it's better to just design one of your systems using this. So take a stab at it, or have one of our inside sales reps help with it.
Absolutely. And if you get a hiccup like I did during the demo, you can always just download the project, send it over to our team. We can pick up the project right where you left off, link up with you on a video meeting, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, even a half hour, whatever kind of support time that you need. We can drive you through where to find what you want to do. Cool. Are there any more questions?
I think that's mostly it. There's a couple.
Well, while we're here, why don't I just click the SolarEdge Designer tool and show everybody what it actually does. So if we click here, it'll push this design that we just did over to the SolarEdge tool. And it's very simple. Everybody who installs SolarEdge does need to configure the array for monitoring. So you can do it twice, or you could do it once. So if you want to make modifications to it, you can do it on both ends too. So we should be able to push the project over to here. There it was. Sorry about that. Go to electrical design, excuse me. It lands you right at the electrical design portion. So this is the exact array that we designed over there. If you want to add a battery to this house, you can add a battery. If you want to have the AI just do the auto stringing for you, it'll do it for you. Like I said, if you want to throw a battery on this home, you can do it with backup power. It's very, very intuitive, very simple to do. I know that the energy bank is a 10 kW battery, so it's already itemized to the list. We're going to hit generate. There's so much more in depth that you can do for your customer here, but what we can do now is if I hit summary, it'll take me over to the projected production of the actual system. No, whoops, I need to click this button right here. Apologize for that. We need to click generate. And here it is. Been a little bit of a while since I've used this tool. Just give me 1 second here. Auto string. There we go. The system should be producing. Hit generate. We have 2 strings, an SE2000 inverter or 10,000 inverter. Hit summary report. There's the generation of the home. There's the projected generation and performance of the equipment. And when you hit export here, I don't have my specific account isn't designed for monitoring, but you can export this to monitoring now, and it'll be sitting there on the mobile app for your installers in the field to scan in the optimizers.
Really cool.
It's very simple to do. This will get you and your team closer to PTO than and the homeowner closer to PTO, permission to operate, because their configuration will be just waiting there, ready to go in the SolarEdge app. So a lot of value packed in there. We've made sure to partner with with a variety of inverter designers that can offer the same thing. The Sunny Design tool offers the same thing. I think it's easier to show everybody the SolarEdge tool because it's a lot more visual and you can actually see the equipment there. You can build out the BOM. You can even take our BOM and put it into this tool. So, and that's actually on the opposite side of the tool, but we're talking with them right there. So you can take the bill of materials here and throw it into your designer tool and then fire that off to the distributor saying, hey, I need one SE10,000, I need 28 optimizers, and I need 28 modules and all this racking equipment for my project. Gives you a lot of top-down tracking of how effective you are with projects and your timetable of installation. And of course, we know installing solar is very referral based. So the homeowner has a terrific experience going with your company. They're going to let their neighbors, friends, and family know.
Nice. Cool. We're out of time. But thanks for everyone for joining and hanging with us. We are going to do a lot more of these. And if you have any requests, let us know. If you want to get in touch about doing these for your team, let us know as well. We will send a follow-up email with contact information. Thanks for joining us and have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Be well out there. Thank you, Johan. And thank you, Dakota, for putting all this together all the time.